In Shenzhen, China, 5-6 kilometers would cost you something like 4 or 5, maybe if it is a nighttime, $6 Canadian. Guys, Canada is so expensive that even some wealthy people acknowledge this. The healthcare is so costly here and so slow that sometimes it's faster and cheaper to travel to another country and get treated there. Don't just dump them there. You have to pay a certain fee for processing of your trash. Hello everyone, my name is Andrew. I'm from Ukraine. I lived 10 years in China and now I live in Canada. In this video, I'd like to compare some prices in China and in Canada. 你好，大家，我叫安德鲁，我住在中国10年。在这个视频，我要比较价格在中国也在加拿大。加油！So guys, let's start with the basics with the rent. I'll be telling you my own examples, right? Here in the city of St. John's, the province of Newfoundland, Canada, for the 2-bedroom apartment, I'm paying just for the rent almost 1,500 Canadian dollars, namely 1,470 Canadian dollars, and the price was raised just after 1 year of rent. In China, in the city of Shenzhen, this is the city of around 15 million people. I began living there in 2016. The rent was 2,800 Chinese RMB, something like 560 Canadian dollars. When I was living in 2024, we were paying the rent. Yes, it was a 1-bedroom apartment, but in a very nice place. It was 3,200 Chinese RMB, which is 640 Canadian dollars. And during our more than 9 years stay in Shenzhen, in that apartment, the landlord increased the rent just twice. Previously, we lived in the city of Kunshan for half a year. That was a 500,000 city, 50 kilometers from Shanghai. The rent was less than 2,000 Chinese RMB. It was a brand new apartment, just like there was still a package of film on the elevator. Half of the apartments were empty. Less than 400 Canadian dollars for a brand new, with big ceilings apartment. For these almost 1,500 Canadian dollars that we pay in the small city of St. John, that is the capital of Newfoundland, this is 7,500 Chinese RMB, we would be able to rent in the city of Shenzhen probably at least 2, maybe 3-bedroom apartment facing the sea in a new building, and it would be much more fancy, and all the furniture would be included, down to the washing machine. Now let's go to the utilities. In St. John's, Canada, we pay 300 Canadian dollars in winter and around 100 in summer. In average, it would be something like 200 Canadian dollars. As I mentioned in the beginning, we lived for some time in the city of Kunshan. The climate was, in winter, it was something like here in St. John's. The spring would begin much earlier and the spring would be much better. You would stop using your heating, I believe, somewhere from April or even from March. So in winter, due to high usage of air conditioning and other heaters, there is no central heating in that area of China, we would pay something like 110 Canadian dollars. And in summer, it would be just 40 Canadian dollars. That's all. In China, when you pay maintenance, all the services regarding cleaning of the corridors, cleaning of the public areas, the garbage are included in this. I'm apologizing for my voice. I recently got ill due to Canadian weather. Maintenance fees here in Canada also include the cleaning of the public area, the snow cleaning, but there is a very interesting detail. While in Canada, at least in the city of St. John's, you can put everything in the garbage cans except for the broken furniture, broken chairs, like old sofa, some tables, etc., etc. You need to bring them to big public dump, and you don't just dump them there. You have to pay a certain fee for processing of your trash. That's insane, right, guys? I remember in China, if you had something like big and old furniture, You just bring it downstairs, leave it close to the trash cans. The drivers and the workers of the garbage trucks, public utility trucks, they would know themselves how to load them in the truck and how to dispose of them. This is the first time I've encountered a situation when you not only have to bring your old trash or like old furniture physically to the dump, but you have to pay a fee if you want to get disposed of it. Guys, each time I do the shopping in Walmart here in Canada, I recall my shopping in Walmart back in China. And for example, for 200 Canadian dollars back in China, I could buy like 4 bags of groceries, load them in taxi and go home. Here in Canada, $200 will buy for you probably like 2 bags of groceries, and that's all. Let's talk about taxi. There was a time when I was using taxi to get from home to work. That's like 5-6 kilometers, and they charge 17 or 18 Canadian dollars. Back in Shenzhen, China, 5-6 kilometers would cost you something like 4 or 5, maybe if it is a night time, 6 Canadian dollars. So it makes it all like 3-4 times higher here in Canada, right? The haircut. I pay 32 Canadian dollars for one session of haircut, and I have to drive car for 2-3 kilometers. While in China, I was paying for the same haircut 28 Chinese RMB, which is 5.5 Canadian dollars. And I had to just simply go downstairs and walk 2 minutes out of the gates of our compound. Now guys, let's talk about healthcare. Recently I had to take our doggy to the vet. There they would charge just $300 for the admission. It's an admission fee in order for you to be seen by a doctor. And the medicines would be something like 200 Canadian dollars, more or less. And it's not that simple, guys. We had to wait for a couple of hours. Finally, we decided that simply we didn't have so much of time, and we just went home, despite it was an emergency service. In my next videos, I'll be talking more detailedly about healthcare in Canada and in China. While in China, there is either not any diagnostics or admission fee, or it's like very, very simple. I even don't remember about it. And you could see a doctor pretty much right away. You would have to wait like maybe 20 minutes, sometimes no waiting time at all. And this is not an emergency. It is just ordinary vet clinic. Equally, about a month ago, I took my son to the emergency again. Though it was an emergency, but we still had to wait about 1 hour. And if you wait that little, you are still very lucky. Recently we got a receipt. I'm thinking that is kind of a mistake because they didn't inform me about any fees. So the receipt for the doctor's visit, despite doctor didn't prescribe any medicine, we just talked to the doctor for 15 minutes. Maybe that's all. I was asking for medicines. Doctor said the child is healthy. The bill says that we have to pay $414 for the doctor emergency visit. That's insane, guys, right? If you call here an ambulance, that's a couple of $100 more. And in addition, the wheelchair service, to be rolled in a wheelchair, like from the porch to the emergency van, and from the van to the hospital, that's a separate service that would cost you probably 50 or 100 bucks as well. So in China, we called once an emergency for our wife, and it was something like 300 Chinese RMB, which is 60 Canadian dollars. We used a wheelchair, and guess what? It was for free, guys. So as I understand, not only certain services cost skyrocket in price, but sometimes even one service is divided into 2 or 3 stages, and for each of these stages you have to pay separately in order to provide to those guys more money. Guys, Canada is so expensive that even some wealthy people acknowledge this. I know some pretty well-off people, their company rents for them a nice house, a 3-bedroom house, which costs $3,000, but it's provided by their company. The husband gets probably up to 100K per year. The wife is still not working, but a free house can compensate for that, right? Yes, they also have 3 kids. So they told us that considering high prices for traveling and pretty much for everything, this year they will refrain from traveling around Canada. Moreover, guys, the healthcare is so costly here and so slow that sometimes it's faster and cheaper to travel to another country and get treated there. One of my colleagues had a bad situation with her tooth. It was an emergency. And here in Canada, the doctors told her to wait for 2 weeks. Obviously, she couldn't wait that long. So she just packed her stuff and flew back to India, where she got everything fixed in just 2 or 3 days. Her insurance provider told her that she did the correct thing going back to India, because here in Canada it would be not only longer, but probably something around 14,000 Canadian dollars, while in India she paid all in all around 5K, including the airfare, and a couple of $1,000 were compensated to her by her insurance provider. So in this situation, everyone saved. The insurance saved money, my colleagues saved time. There is a joke in Canada that the only thing that is relatively cheap here is an old BMW. The reason for that is that old BMWs are infamous for being broken quite often. Not only their parts are much more expensive, but the works on BMWs are more expensive than the works on Hondas or Toyotas. Guys, I hope that this video was interesting and useful for you. I would be grateful if you supported me by subscribing to my channel and putting a thumb up to this video. Thank you so much. See you in the next video or in Canada. Take care. At the same time, I don't want to develop Canada by no way. I still think that it is a country of opportunities, but unlike the United States and probably China, it takes much longer, and you need to be either prepared for harsh life and harsh time for at least a couple of years, or bring here some bags of cash.